can see the disdain in your face already.
I just don't get it. I'm either really stupid, really old, or
it's the dumbest thing you've ever seen, right?
I'm lost for words. I feel lost. I feel like, you know, when you've just woken up from like a 2-hour nap and you're just like, you don't understand the universe that you're in. That's how I feel. What is up, YouTube? It's James from Robin Henry Watches. Let's get straight into it. The Bulgari Octo Finissimo Ultra.
Which means we're going to get about 5 views because it's not Rolex.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there'll be 5 views on this video. So they've just dropped a watch today. We're in the past, by the way. And it's a new world record. It's 1.8 millimeters thick, which is the entirety of the case and the movement, which
I think you
is
can get paper thicker than that
insane.
now. I suppose they call that cardboard, really. But...
The record was previously held by Piaget, and theirs was a disgustingly fat 2 millimeters. I know, right? Like, what losers? Here's the weird thing. The guy that was leading the project for Bulgari actually said they could have made this 1.5 millimeters thick. But
we can all make our watches 1.5 mil thick. We're just not going to show you.
He said it just wasn't practical to do so because of it when it's getting so thin.
So they couldn't then?
No, they could do. So the way that they've made this watch, which is they've had to get like a whole project team. They had a third party company come in and help them. They were originally designed it and they were like, no, it looks too much like a watch. Like just a basic watch.
Right, okay. Just too much like a
Like
watch.
a three-hander. So whereas if you look, I'm going to have to look at it because like the thing is so bloody crazy. You've got everything there. So the actual case back also works as the main plate as well. And then you've got everything, you got things separate. You obviously see it like it's almost skeleton. It's quite insane. Obviously there's no crown on it to help reduce the thickness.
It's really cool. It's a proper conversation starter.
Yeah, I mean, massively. So the watch, they've had to do a few various things to like get it to be. So the alloy that they've used is tungsten carbide, which is essentially, it's twice as, in their words, stiff as steel. Because it's so thin, like...
Well, it's got to last.
Anything can damage, if it damages the case, essentially you're damaging the watch and the movement. In this case, it's because it's so thin. Other things like underneath the sapphire, they've had to put tiny little bumpers. I think they said at 3 and 6, because if you pressed your thumb down on it, you could basically squash the movement, because the margins of gap and error here, I mean, you're talking like microns. So yeah, they put in these 2 little bumpers in case, you know, you push it. So put it this way, you're not going to use this watch as your beta watch. The bracelet and everything like that, I'm presuming, is titanium. Yeah, the design's quirky. They've made it a little bit different. You got your standard Octo Finissimo bracelet on there. Just to dial back a bit, I think the Octo Finissimo range was launched in 2013, 2014. Think about what Bulgari have done with that range since then. When you think of Bulgari now, that's the range that you think of. Like you think of, oh, okay, Rolexes, Submariners, name another brand, and you'll just think, okay, AP is the Royal Oak, whatever.
It's very standout.
And they've done a lot with it in that time. They've got, you know, they've done like I think they've got about 7 world records with the Octo Finissimo, like the thinnest tourbillon, thinnest chronograph, things like that. They've done all these records, so really it only made sense that the one that they hadn't done was the thinnest watch overall.
Exactly.
They've done that now. You get it, they do a full gold model, which I bet is absolutely insane. They do the standard steel one. The pick of the range for me up until now, these ultra thins aren't really for me, although I do really appreciate it. Titanium sandblasted models. That for me is the middle of the range. The only reason why I haven't bought that one, and I've been very close, is because if a watch doesn't have a sentimental meaning to me, I know I'm going to flip it. And unfortunately, the market hasn't caught on and the resales aren't great. And it's a real shame because everyone's so obsessed with like Batman, Smurf, all this sort of stuff, that they're sleeping on awesome brands like Bulgari, which have just done loads in the last few years. So yeah, it's an evolution of their kind of really high-end watchmaking. You know, and they've just basically pissed all over Piaget and been like, world's thinnest watch. Done. Yeah, I like it. Now,
I'm gonna let you carry on, but I've got something to upset you with. Because I think I know something you don't. Do you reckon there's a reason why we're talking about Bulgari instead of Rolex? And why this is an off the wrist and not anything else? It's not the NFTs later in the video, it's the NFTs now.
What's it got to do with it?
Take a closer look at the picture, because I don't think you spotted it, because I only saw it on the second look, and I know you haven't read this.
Do you know, I put a picture of it up. I should bloody remember what...
Right there. Can you see a QR code?
The f*** is that? How did I not...
That QR code takes you...
No.
No, it's alright, it's alright. It takes you to a video about the watch and how they came up with it. And an NFT.
Why? First of all, I'm surprised I didn't notice that. That just shows you...
It took me a second look, to be fair, because at first, obviously, there's a lot of complexity going on in front of you there.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I do check watches that I sell, so you're probably thinking this guy's got no attention to detail. Ugh.
I like that. Clearly, they've tried to maybe make it a little bit subtle, but as soon as you see it, you know it's there.
Why would you stick it on the front? Right, if they want to do that, okay. I mean, I don't see why it can't come with something in the packaging. If they want to get into the NFT game, or a video about it.
Or on the case back, hide it somewhere.
That was my next point. A little on the back, I mean, I guess it might be a bit hard, but why?
They've taken something that's actually a really good achievement and is really, really fucking cool. And people are going to sleep on the fact that it's that, you know, record level of thinness.
Why put it on the mainspring barrel? I don't...
There's so many questions here. It's why would you put it on the mainspring barrel?
Well, if they said, you've obviously read into this, so have they? I mean, I literally just read through the highlight specs.
Yeah.
And obviously when I saw it, I was looking more just at the aesthetics of it.
Yeah.
Overall, but now I'm looking at that.
But this is the problem. Like, why have they put it there? Why bother at all? But if you're going to, why put it right on the front? And then why overshadow your actual achievement with what's going to take the headlines now, which is the NFT aspect, not the new record on the thickness.
Okay, so there's 10 pieces worldwide. I mean, obviously it was going to be a limited production model because you can't mass produce this. Wow, 400 G's. It's probably worth 400 grand. Like, if you've got tens or hundreds of millions upwards, what's 400 grand? Nothing.
Exactly.
But
I mean, can there be that much material in it?
I actually don't have a problem with the price of 400 grand. It's the thinnest watch, you know, mechanical watch. Sorry, let me just be clear here. It's the thinnest mechanical watch because there has actually been a thinner quartz watches in the past. They weren't really viable commercially. I think was it Tiffany and Vacheron?
Probably.
I don't know. I think they did some, but they weren't very overly a big hit. NFTs.
You don't even know what to say, do you?
Fungible token.
Basically means you can't copy it or repeat it.
I mean, you can, but yeah,
Yeah, but you can't.
Oh, you can take a screenshot.
No.
I know that's not a good argument.
It's a terrible argument. A non-fungible token. So if you had the NFT of that Rolex picture, you don't own the picture. It's got nothing to do with the picture, but you have a code that basically says, I own this.
I get it.
It's the code you can't copy.
And I get there's a value to it, that people put value on things that don't exist. Like, I think the best analogy I got given was, you know, you can be playing a computer game and you can buy like something, like you can pay for like an add-on for your outfit, which gives you no benefit in the game, but people will still purchase it for the status.
Yeah.
You know, and to be fair, you know, you could say that with art or, you know.
But this is the difficulty now. You're buying the absolute right to something. It's not.
To be fair here to Bulgari, you're not buying this for an NFT. You're not. That's not what you're paying the money for.
But this is the problem. They've made it the headline now. You should have been buying this for what it is. It's now what it comes with.
No, I disagree. I think you are buying this the thinnest watch. But for me, if I had 400 grand, I'm going to reach out to Bulgari and be like, change that now. Yeah. Like, just put me a plain one or polish it. Just take it off, or better still, disassemble the movement, turn it upside down, put it back, so I don't have to see that shit. Or like,
that's interesting.
I mean, I like everything about it apart from that. I don't even care about the stupid NFT in the background, which makes no point because proof of ownership. In the watch, I've got it here, but I don't need the NFT. But the QR code, I mean, listen, it's not Tesco's.
It's the tackiest thing you could put in the middle of a watch. And as far as QR codes go, I guess it's the most sophisticated way you could display a QR code, if you know what I mean. The way they've etched it, it's not like black and white.
From a distance, the way that I was looking at it, it just looks like...
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I saw the first time. And then I saw the word NFT in the description and hang on a minute.
Yeah, I didn't see the NFT, but... Listen,
it's just so disappointing, especially when I saw your excitement about it. And like, you don't care
piss
now.
On my chips.
Are your chips pissed on?
I mean, it's taken the edge off. A fucking QR code. Do you know who would do this shit? Like, tag? You know, they'd stick a... You'd have like the new Aqua Racer with our new dial, which is a QR code. That's the sort of shit I'd expect from them, not Bulgari. Bulgari is like a really good. I'm even going to call it a maison, you know, because it's up there and it's one of the really like overlooked brands.
In fact, a QR code would fit really well on the Monaco.
Yeah, I mean, technically, yeah, I mean, it probably would do, but not the Monaco, because the Monaco for me is the best model from Tag Heuer.
And was this not the best model from Bulgari 10 minutes ago?
The Octo Finissimo ranges. Maybe not this. I mean, listen, in terms of do you know what this is from Bulgari? It's a flex.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course it is.
Commercially, I bet you they are losing money on this. They have to, I mean, even at 400 grand, the money that they put into it, the project, bringing in a third-party company, is technically very difficult. At best, they might cover their costs here. They might make a few coins on the side, but it's not. No other brand is going to bother to try and beat that record because why? There's no commercial value. But that's what I like that Bulgari did. They did it just because they could.
Exactly.
They're just like, fuck all you, you know, we can do this, and this is something that watch collectors will really appreciate. I don't think the QR code will stop the people that want it anyway, because...
Well, there's only 10, so I'm sure they can find 10 people in the world who want it.
Oh, no. 10 millionaires out there? I mean, there's probably for billionaires, but...
You can probably harass a billionaire enough that they buy it just to get you to leave them alone.
Yeah.
But it's the thing, I don't want people to buy it or to be put off buying it because of that. It just...
I don't think they will be. It's just a bit like, why? They didn't need to.
No.
Just because you can doesn't mean that you should.
Speaking of which, shall we discuss the video I made you watch just before this to trick you into a conversation on NFTs?
I mean...
Jacob Arabo is now a comic book mastermind, and he's going to sell you pictures from this made-up comic about a made-up world where there's a made-up secret lab at Jacob & Co. that makes up made-up watches in some made-up machine.
Before I get into it, I just want to say this. Jacob & Co., to be fair to them, and to try and try and be a little bit objective here. I haven't handled their watches, but from what I've heard from people who have been objective, the quality of the watches is very good. He's trying to be innovative with the materials that he uses, not the first person to do that. Hublot were really the first to push that, and I know that's not a popular opinion or fact, because it is a fact.
You're totally objective, aren't you?
Cheers, Jean-Claude Bieber. No, listen, I'm not a huge Hublot. I'm not a Hublot fanboy at all. They deserve a lot of the stick that they get, but they did pioneer materials. But anyway, we're going off point here. The point is, they have experimented with good materials. He tries different designs.
Yeah.
And the watches, from what I hear, at the top end are really high quality, and fair play to him. At least it's something different from a Submariner. But when he's not money laundering, for the mob, when he's not doing a bid in like Sing Sing or wherever he was locked up, for his part in, the money laundering thing, and he's coming up with crazy ideas. So let's get this clear. I'm going to probably have to rewind a little bit because my mind is so blown. So he is selling a collection, or launching this year, spring, a collection of NFTs which are designed for the Metaverse. Sorry. It's because, do you know why I just said that? Because it was like, I think it says like Metaverso in the way that you'd said it on their marketing. I mean, listen, maybe I'm too old to understand the Metaverse, because I just don't get the point of it.
I understand it, I just don't get the point of it.
I'm not sure if I even understand it, let alone the point of it. But that's I'm going to touch on that in a minute, because there's so much to like dissect here. I've just watched the
We've seen your reaction
video.
To the trailer.
I don't get it. Listen, maybe it's not. Maybe NFT. I can understand NFTs, and I do get that in some areas there's value there. I do get that everyone 7-year-olds are scribbling on napkins and selling them as NFTs.
See, that's the bit of NFTs I don't quite get. Is I get NFTs of existing things, NFTs of existing art that has a place, or whatever it may be. But creating, like you said, I don't know if you've seen the gorillas that keep going around.
Like the crazy looking monkey things.
Exactly, or whatever they are.
I think DJ Khaled's got one on his profile picture. Is it one of those?
Yeah. But I don't get it. Like, why are we creating things for NFTs? Surely it's like just put something out there and be like, yeah, this might be worth something.
Or maybe it's a case of more where they should be attaching NFTs to physical things to prove ownership. I don't know where that. I think that's probably where watches or the watch industry is trying to take it. But so what essentially he's doing is, he did say something about physical watches, but I don't know if existing in the NFTs or in the Metaverse. Sorry, I'm saying Metaverse. I know. I'm just that.
They have done one NFT watch. So he's created some cartoons. But again, that's got a.
Who's gonna? I mean, to be fair, there's some history, because he did one. Jacob & Co. did an NFT of a watch in 2021 that sold for $100,000 US dollars. Who the wants this? Who the wants it?
It's yet another cartoon
where he's like made to be like some, I don't know, superhero villain, where he's like talking about.
They describe it as their lair,
the hardest property, or I don't know what. But just, I mean, listen. I guess if you're that coked up to pay like a million pounds for some Jacob & Co. And let's just be honest. In general, Jacob & Co. Who the is it for? Is for like coked
it's
up.
It's for DJ Khaled and coked up millionaires.
Now listen, he got one. I don't want to go too far off it. He got one recently, but I think that was gifted to him by Jacob & Co. Because he was there saying thank you for it, like over the top. He wasn't like when he gets like a new Rolex, or he got a Patek from his wife at Christmas. Obvs. Fair play to him, because that's the life he's living. But he made a point of going over and over saying thank you for this Jacob & Co. because they sent him the billionaire, which actually isn't a billion. But anyway, I don't want to be off point now.
That's also slightly upsetting, but
I think it's about 4 million. But anyway, I think they gifted it to him because obviously DJ Khaled's got such clout in the world right now, to being relevant. He was pushing it, because is he going to drop a few million on that? I don't see it. I mean, he can afford
Producer Michael will. Seen a few of those.
Yeah, but he's crazy. I mean, he's a likable guy, but the whole Jacob & Co. thing is, okay, imagine this. Think of all the watch boutiques in the world, right? You've got your Rolex boutiques, even the Omega boutiques, in the shopping malls, and
you got security
shopping
on the door.
But you think about, you know, the Jacob and Co.
It's like
boutique.
it's not that you wouldn't be allowed in. You wouldn't go in.
Exactly. Like, who the goes into a Jacob and Co. boutique?
It's like getting to like just turning like 21 and then standing outside the casino like, can I go in?
Why would you go in? Like, what are you going to say? I mean, maybe you go into his New York boutique because his main boutique is in New York and his offices are above it. So maybe you go in there and be like, listen, I'll buy one, but I've got to see Jacob. You meet him and be like, nah, I'm only joking, I'm out. But
no, that's when he makes you disappear.
But like,
another
listen,
charge.
What authorised dealers hold Jacob and Co? No one holds it because why the fuck would you? It's a dog brand to carry. Think about this. Last week we were talking about, you know, the top Swiss brands.
Yes.
Were they anywhere close in the top
they're
sales?
miles away.
Name me one person you know, not a celebrity, that has a Jacob and Co.
Nobody.
I don't know anyone. I know hundreds of people in the watch, you know, collectors. I know hundreds, maybe even thousands of watch collectors. I don't know anyone, like, of all the people that follow me and I follow on Instagram or whatever, I don't know anyone.
I can see more Jacob watches being posted by Jacob and Co. in 2 hours on Instagram than I can by the entire watch community in a year.
So anyway, they haven't put out much more details of this NFT. I don't get it. Listen, I don't want to make it to be about NFTs. I don't get it. I do. There's some value to it, and I do see that in the future the NFTs are going to hold a lot more value, and they're going to be more a part of our everyday lives. And you know,
I just think until it becomes something, it's
maybe
drawing
it'll be
too
like
much
you buy a
attention.
car and you get an NFT to prove your ownership over a logbook. I don't know, or whatever the registration document. I don't know what the hell they are these days. My car's really old. I don't know what I've got for it.
They wouldn't make an NFT for yours. It would take too much time.
I know, the digital file would be worth more than the car. I think that the issue, and I think you touched on it before, is the people are forcing creating of NFTs to force and create a value which really isn't there in a lot of cases.
You know, if you could do an NFT of, you know, the first time they released a drawing of a Jacob, I get that. You know, existing things that hold weight, but when they're creating this random comic collection,
I think there's only one brand that could get away with this. It's them. Rolex could release NFTs, like a run of NFTs of their watches, and I bet people would pay for it.
It would have to. When you say run of NFTs, you mean
make it limited. I mean, like the forced scarcity of their models that they put out there right now. I think they're the only brand that could release a series of NFTs.
Like have an NFT of like the original prototypes or something. That would be huge.
They could do a doodle of it. I mean, to be fair, Rolex, it would probably fuck
but
itself.
if you want to actually get interesting, that's what watch collectors I think would be interested in. You know, like the prototype of the Submariner.
Like maybe like you think like the most famous watch designer that has been Gerald Genta.
Yeah.
Maybe like a lot of his sketches. I think they went to auction recently. I read an article on it, a really interesting one actually. And some of them were auctioned off, and like that would be interesting. But then again, why would you need an NFT if you own the physical?
Well, exactly. But this is what I'm saying. You know, things like the James Cameron Deep Sea. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I assume that hasn't sold. I haven't read into it. I assume they kept that, and it's in some museum in Rolex's HQ. You could release an NFT of that, so you wouldn't own it, but you've got the NFT. You're the only guy in the world who's got the James Cameron Deep Sea.
NFT.
But that's what's got the value here. But as a watch collector, that's cool.
Yeah, I guess.
Not to me personally, but you can see where that would be value versus a random comic about Jacob.
I think there's a lot of potential for NFTs, but I don't know. I'm still trying to get my head around it. I'm sure, like, I don't know. Let me know in the comments, like, if
that's what I'm interested. What do these guys think?
Like, am I the only one? I'm just like, it's taken me a long time to get my head around NFTs, and I'm still not there. I'm still not like, yeah. I can see how it's going to be a potential, you know, part of our future, and
hopefully after I've died.
But I guess it's the whole everyone's creating NFTs and saying like it's worth this. I mean, I know you could say that about everything. It's subjective.
Rolex, you know, Starbucks.
What makes that have a value? What makes that have a value? So why can't NFTs do it? Yeah, I get all of that, but I guess maybe what I don't like about it or don't understand is why everyone's trying to force it.
I think that's what's frustrating to me is, again, we go back to the original point, the Bulgari, it's tainted it. You know, they've got an achievement,
about the NFT on that. I just don't like the fact they put a fucking QR code.
Well, exactly,
on the
because
front.
they weren't NFTing it, they wouldn't QR it. It's just,
Oh.
it's adding another point to watch collecting, which just shouldn't exist right now.
Maybe we should do like a Robin Henry Watches NFT. Maybe I'm going to make myself into an NFT.
We're going to keep that Daniel Craig and we'll release an NFT of it.
Make an NFT version.
You need to rewrite on it as well.
I know, stupid twat. Stupid worn out face.
Anyway, what's in the shop?
Oh god, I'm so tired. I don't understand any of it. It's the Rolex Datejust, reference 1603. It's from 1972. So maybe it's a birth year watch for someone. The condition overall is really, really good.
Really good.
Like really good.
I prefer the bezel on that as well to modern flutes as well.
Me too.
Like,
it's in really good condition as well. You've got all the original loom plots. Because what they would do is next to the kind of the batons is you would have that loom plot. If you look at a lot of vintage watches, especially Rolex, they're either one, they've exploded and shot their load and like, or they're just missing completely, or worse, they've fallen off and dribbled over the dial.
Oh, stop.
But these are in immaculate condition. There is some aging on the hands, on the loom there.
Is there?
So, yeah, there's a little bit, but you're going to get that.
I've not even spotted it.
Yeah, if you look
I've done
super
in-depth
close,
photos.
they're there. It's on the photos.
Well, there's your
But
answer.
listen, that shows the originality of it. It's got the original dial, the original hands. Has it been polished? Yes, it has, but only very lightly. Someone asked me a question today, and I replied to them. They're like, yeah, but people don't really believe that, or don't want to believe it. And it's this. Vintage watches, there's a lot of people that put out there, one of the first questions you get with a vintage watches is, has it got box and papers? No, it's a very old watch.
Paper's probably degraded at this point.
But that's not the point I'm going to go on, because box and papers are absolutely, they're nearly worthless with vintage watches. What is way more important, I've been over this, I'm sure I've done a video on it, is what is most important is the condition of a vintage watch, not being, duped by some fake papers or fake box. But anyway, polishing. Nearly every vintage watch.
You're so angry you can't even get it out.
Has been polished. And that is a fact. If you have dealers saying that they've got multiple vintage watches that have not been polished, they are lying and they are deceiving you. In fact, I would go as far as saying nearly defrauding you. You have to remember that, 50, 60 years ago, these watches were tool watches, okay? Over a lifespan of 60 years, 50 years, 40 years, the movements they're not, even a modern Rolex, they now say you don't have to get it serviced until it's 10 years old, every 10 years, okay? Right? So you have to send this to a watchmaker or back to the manufacturer, right? Every few years. Yeah. Back in these days, probably every couple of years, right?
Easily.
Are you telling me that they never once polished that watch when it went in? That is a standard part of a service, okay?
Yeah.
The only way you don't get your watch polished when you send it in for a service is if you kick off and you're there like, I do not want it polished. Write it down. Let me see it. Did you write it? That is how forceful you have to be. And even then...
That sounds just like you on a daily basis.
Yes, Rolex or other brands may still decide to polish your watch because as far as they're concerned, it's their watch.
It's their quality control.
It's a bit like if they, nowadays they list it out, blah, 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 but you have to forcibly say you don't want it polished. So if people actually believe that a watch has gone 60 or 50 or 40 years without being polished, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It does. There are some unpolished examples out there. But if you're really that naive or blind to the truth that these watches haven't been polished, then I'm sorry, vintage watches aren't for you. Most of them have been polished. And what's the important thing to look out for is how well has it been polished? Has it been over polished? Rolex is really, I'm not going to say easy to tell, but there are tells.
You can tell it from here on the clasp, but only just.
The clasp, they'd always put the crown on there. You'll see the bad ones, they've been, and it's like, it looks like there was a mild footprint of where the crown used to be. You can tell it on the lugs, on the chamfers there, the lines. Are the lugs still, that's why they use the term, are the lugs still fat? As in, are they all still there? I bought and sold many years ago a Rolex Oyster Perpetual, solid yellow gold with a Shantung dial. Really beautiful watch. Bought it from America. I don't want to say don't buy vintage watches from America, but they're generally, they've been touched up a little bit. One lug was like this, the other lug was like this.
Ouch.
It had been badly over polished, and to the point that when I put a strap on it, I was like, oh, there was like odd gaps. And I was like, that's when you start learning about it. But I'm going into that rant to say this is, when you buy a vintage watch, always look at the originality, and that's the most important thing, and how close it is to when it was originally sold. I'm going on like a massive rant.
I'm going to say, like, I'm going to have to be a director in a second and say we're at 41 minutes.
Oh, wait. I'm going to shut up now. That's available in the shop for £4,000. It's a very good deal. Find another vintage watch in that condition for £4,000. Rolex Datejust, I'm saying. Okay, we out.